thing that raised some eyebrows with people is when I dropped the information about Quincy Jones. All right, let the chips fall wherever they fall.
That's right.
The music industry has long been shrouded in rumors and allegations, with certain figures consistently finding themselves at the center of controversy. One such individual is the legendary producer Quincy Jones. For years, whispers have circulated about his involvement in what some have described as dark and ritualistic practices that seem to exploit young male artists. These claims are not just hearsay. They come from some very prominent sources, including former Public Enemy member Professor Griff, who has shared chilling accounts of these alleged rituals. Professor Griff's statements about Quincy Jones point to an unsettling pattern of behavior that stretches back decades. According to Griff, Jones was one of the first major figures in the music industry to establish himself as a so-called gatekeeper, controlling access to stardom for young, aspiring artists. Griff's allegations suggest that these gatekeeper roles involved more than just promoting talent. He claims that Jones hosted exclusive, wild parties for high-ranking industry figures and promising new artists, and that these gatherings often crossed ethical and moral boundaries. Many young men, including some of the biggest stars in the industry, were allegedly lured to these parties under the pretense of advancing their careers, only to find themselves in compromising exploitative situations. While some may dismiss these allegations as rumors, they persist, especially in light of the tragic events surrounding rapper Tupac Shakur. It is widely known that Tupac, whose own rise to fame was meteoric, publicly accused Jones of making an inappropriate proposal. Allegedly, Tupac's refusal to comply with Jones's demands led to a bitter fallout. The relationship between Tupac and Jones soured, and shortly thereafter Tupac's life was tragically cut short. His murder remains officially unsolved, and some theorists believe that his refusal to engage in these rumored practices may have made him a target. It's a chilling possibility that connects his untimely death with these long-standing industry rumors. But Tupac is far from the only one who's allegedly felt the brunt of these. In those days, Campbell's success seemed almost unstoppable. He was compared to legends like Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder. But what many don't know is that Tevin Campbell's early career success was reportedly accompanied by increasing pressure from the music industry's elite. Allegations suggest that Campbell was exposed to the darker, more exploitative side of fame through these parties. Powerful figures. Quincy Jones has been rumored to target a number of other high-profile individuals, including Michael Jackson, Tevin Campbell, and even Will Smith. These names, especially when associated with Jones, raise questions about the true nature of their rise to fame. Tevin Campbell, for instance, was a teenage sensation in the 1990s, whose early career success included multiple hit albums and collaborations with some of the biggest names in music, such as Quincy Jones. However, Campbell's rise to stardom came with its own dark shadow, as he is reportedly one of the many young artists who attended Jones's infamous parties. According to various sources, Campbell was just one of many young male artists who found themselves caught in a tangled web of power dynamics, control, and humiliation. Tevin Campbell's story is not unique. Other young stars, like Will Smith, are also rumored to have been exposed to the same dark forces behind the scenes. Will Smith, who was thrust into the spotlight when he became the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, was allegedly handed over to Quincy Jones by his manager, Benny Medina. According to MC Shan, who is also in the running for the Fresh Prince role, it's rumored that these rituals were a way for the industry's elite to assert dominance over these rising stars, testing their willingness to comply with whatever demands were placed before them. In some cases, like that of Campbell, the toll of such experiences reportedly took a severe emotional and psychological toll on the artist. Campbell's career, which began with a promising future, began to falter by the mid-1990s. His albums didn't perform as well, and he found himself struggling to recapture the same momentum. The trauma of what he allegedly endured behind the scenes, paired with the industry's demands, seemed to stifle his once promising career. His arrest in 1999 for soliciting a sexual act from an undercover officer in California was just one example of how the pressure and exploitation within the industry seemed to affect Campbell's mental health and personal life. Years later, singer Jaguar Wright would discuss Campbell's struggles in a viral interview, revealing that Campbell, like many other young stars before him, had suffered deeply from the exploitation at those industry parties. Wright claimed that Campbell's career faltered not just because of the public's shifting interest, but because of the lasting psychological scars he carried with him. How does a boy with a voice like that, who had the records that he had, end up on Hollywood Boulevard struggling? Wright questioned, hinting at the deeper forces at play in the entertainment industry. Her remarks underscored the belief that Campbell's decline was more than just a matter of bad career moves. It was the aftermath of a system designed to break down young, vulnerable artists for the sake of control and power. Medina allegedly made him an indecent proposal, and Shan insinuated that Medina had also been involved in similar activities with Tevin Campbell. Medina himself has been the subject of dark rumors and allegations. In 2004, actor Jason Dolee publicly accused Medina of attempting to assault him during a visit to his home. Dolee's account was supported by a friend who witnessed the incident. These allegations against Medina, paired with the reports of Quincy Jones's parties, paint a disturbing picture of how the industry's most powerful figures allegedly exerted control over young talent, using manipulation, power, and coercion. Despite the secrecy surrounding these practices, some of the individuals involved have finally begun to speak out. In 2022, Tevin Campbell came out as gay, revealing the challenges he faced during his time in the industry. In an interview with People magazine, Campbell shared his struggle to understand his sexuality while simultaneously navigating the cutthroat entertainment world. "I didn't start understanding those things until I got away from the business," he said, reflecting on his difficult journey to self-discovery. His decision to leave the industry at a young age, he explained, was ultimately what saved him. It gave him the space to understand who he truly was, free from the pressures of Hollywood's exploitative machine. The tragic tales of artists like Tevin Campbell and the mysterious death of Tupac Shakur are just a few examples of the many dark stories that have swirled around the music industry for decades. These allegations, whether or not they are fully substantiated, highlight the dark side of fame and the lengths to which some powerful figures will go to maintain control. As more individuals begin to speak out about their experiences, it raises important questions about the industry's treatment of its young stars and the responsibility of the figures who hold the power to shape their careers. For the victims, it's a painful reminder of how the pursuit of fame can come at a devastating personal cost. In the entertainment industry, personal decisions often collide with public expectations, and for some, that collision leads to a reckoning. For certain high-profile figures, moments come where they choose to step back, not just for a break, but as a conscious, deliberate move to reassess their place in the world. One such figure is Will Smith, who, despite being a key player in Hollywood, has publicly admitted to moments where stepping back from the industry was essential for his personal well-being. He has also spoken about his complicated relationship with Quincy Jones, a legendary figure in the music world, whose connections and influence have long been the subject of speculation. The interaction between Smith and Jones, particularly at a pivotal point in Will's career, raises questions about the hidden forces in Hollywood and the blurred lines between professional and personal agendas. Will Smith's journey into the limelight was not a typical story of a meteoric rise. Before becoming a household name, he was one half of the successful hip-hop duo DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. However, despite their early successes, Will's financial situation took a drastic downturn in the late 80s. By 1989, he was heavily in debt, owing nearly $3 million to the IRS. His financial troubles, compounded by a growing sense of personal dissatisfaction, left Will at a crossroads. It was at this moment of vulnerability that he attended one of Quincy Jones' infamous industry parties. a social event that would change the trajectory of his career forever. At just 19 or 20 years old, Will Smith found himself in the presence of powerful industry figures, and it was here that his fateful meeting with Quincy Jones occurred. Introduced by music industry mogul Benny Medina, Will was at first just another face in the crowd. Yet, the encounter turned into something more significant. Medina pitched an idea for a sitcom, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which was loosely based on his own life experiences growing up in East Los Angeles. Inspired by the pitch, Quincy immediately saw potential in Will and asked him to audition on the spot. The audition, done in front of a star-studded crowd at Quincy's gathering, was a turning point. Will impressed Quincy so much that the legendary producer wasted no time in taking action. As the story goes, Quincy went to Brandon Tartikoff, the head of NBC at the time, and demanded that a contract be drawn up immediately. Quincy's assertion in that moment of power, ordering NBC's legal team to act, was just one example of the intricate ways power and influence are wielded behind the scenes in Hollywood. Will went from being a young, struggling artist to a rising star within hours, all thanks to Quincy's influence and timely intervention. However, over the years, the public's perception of that encounter has evolved, with some speculating that Quincy may have been asking for more than just a professional audition. Rumors surrounding Quincy's role in Hollywood have been persistent, particularly about his alleged influence over young stars and the idea of him being a gatekeeper in the industry. There have been whispers that long before Diddy became notorious for his freak-off parties, Quincy was hosting his own secret gatherings, events where young, aspiring stars may have been asked to do more than just perform for their place in the spotlight. One of the most significant elements of the narrative surrounding Quincy Jones's Hollywood parties involved the late Tupac Shakur. In the mid-1990s, Tupac was dating Quincy's daughter, Kidada Jones, and was at a crossroads in his career, contemplating leaving Death Row Records and signing with Quincy's label. It was during this time that an encounter with Quincy allegedly soured. According to multiple sources, Tupac was offered a deal by Quincy, but after Quincy allegedly made a pass at him, Tupac chose to cut ties with the legendary producer. These rumors, however, were not just whispers in the industry. In fact, Tupac himself is said to have recounted the incident during an interview with Angie Martinez for Vibe magazine. Although the full interview, which was over 2 hours long, was never aired in its entirety, snippets of the conversation leaked out, giving the public a tantalizing glimpse into Tupac's thoughts on his relationship with Quincy. Angie Martinez, years later, explained that she chose not to air the full interview because she feared it might inflame the already tense East Coast-West Coast feud. But some fans remember hearing Tupac speak candidly about the alleged incident, where he claimed Quincy had made intimate advances towards him. One fan even recalled hearing an audio clip from a now-missing video where Tupac explicitly told Quincy, "I don't get down like that." In the years following Tupac's tragic death in 1996, more rumors began to circulate about the full content of his interview. Fans who were around when the original leak surfaced recalled hearing Tupac say that he cut ties with Quincy after the alleged incident. It's said that Tupac's decision not to sign with Quincy's label was not just about business. It was a personal decision, one influenced by his discomfort with Quincy's actions. The secrecy around the interview and the disappearance of the audio only fueled the rumors. As more and more fans dug into these old interviews, the speculation grew louder, adding yet another layer to the mystery of Quincy Jones's influence in Hollywood. A few years later, the controversy resurfaced when an interview with Professor Griff, a member of Public Enemy, began circulating online. In his interview, Griff spoke about the darker side of the entertainment industry, including allegations of Quincy's behavior towards young artists. It was not just the fans who began to question the nature of these power dynamics, but also people within the industry, who had long heard rumors about Quincy's influence over young stars and the kinds of favors that were allegedly expected in return for career opportunities. Hollywood's long history of secrecy and scandal. Regardless of where one stands on the issue, it's clear that the pursuit of truth, justice, and accountability in the entertainment world is something that should never be silenced, no matter who is at the center of the controversy.